Do you worry about everything you have to do? Is your to-do list constantly on your mind? If so, this episode is for you. It's about how to stop thinking about your to-do list. You're listening to Pure Light, where we explore how to become the highest version of yourself so that you feel worthy of your craziest dreams and confident in your power to make them happen. My name is Eiley. I'm a coach, writer, and Kundalini yoga and meditation teacher. This is episode 62, and this is part of a series of episodes about how to clear mental clutter. So the last episode was about how to stop having conversations in your head. So if you find that you're constantly rehashing what you said or what you should have said, or what you want to say to someone, and you missed it, go back and listen to it. It was episode number 61. And there are more to come on clearing mental clutter. So if you'd like to listen to them, subscribe to Pure Light wherever you listen to podcasts. So when I was working full-time as a management consultant, I decided that I wanted some space from that job. And that's when I decided to take a leave of absence. And I had a lot of things that I needed to do to get ready for that. I was already busy. I was working on a merger at that point, which is pretty much the most intense type of project you can be on. And I was working in Calgary and living in Toronto. So I was on a plane twice a week, usually Sunday nights, flying from Toronto to Calgary, and then flying back to Toronto on Thursday evenings, and then living in a hotel, obviously, when I wasn't home. So things were already busy. And on top of that, I wanted to find the time to get everything ready to leave that world for a while, which meant that I would need to do even more stuff than usual. There were a lot of things that I needed to do, things that included stuff that I had kind of been ignoring for a while. So, tying up loose ends, clearing that backlog of stuff, as well as plans to make to get ready for that trip. And also just kind of figuring out how to put my life on hold for a little bit while I was away. And as you can imagine, it was stressing me out. It was a lot of stuff. There was so much to do. So it was constantly on my mind. And it was like my mind was constantly making lists about everything and then just circling through them to make sure that I didn't forget them. And I took out a piece of paper at one point and wrote down every single thing that was on my mind. So it was like a big brain dump at first. But then I kept adding to the list as other stuff came to mind. And by the time I was done, there were probably close to 100 things on that list. I think it was a little shy of 100. I feel like it was like 92 or 3 or something. So there were 92 or 3 things that I needed to do. And it included everything from like booking my plane ticket to stuff like photocopying expense receipts to clearing out my condo. And selling my condo was even on that list because I was planning to move when I got back from my travels. So I ended up with this huge list that had a lot of items on it, big and small. And that helped get it off my mind, but writing it down in and of itself wasn't enough. My mind was clearer, but there was still some worry about it. There was like, how am I going to get everything done? So I just started going through that list one thing at a time and taking that one thing through to completion before moving on to the next thing. So I would pick something that kind of fit into whatever time that I had and then do it thoroughly. And it was hard to start, but once I started, momentum started building. And I had a window of about 3 months to get through everything on that list before I was planning to leave for my travels. And I wasn't sure, to be honest, if I would get everything done. But I knew I needed to just kind of keep going one thing at a time. And I also knew that if I didn't get everything done, I would leave with a whole bunch of like loose ends. And that would weigh on me energetically when I was away. So I ended up getting through most of the stuff on the list. I think there were maybe a handful of items that I never got around to doing that I eventually realized were just not important and really didn't need to be done because they didn't matter. So everything that actually mattered got done. And that changed my perspective on how to get things done and how to move forward. It also made me realize that in order to get your to-do list off your mind, you need a process or a system. Hoping you'll remember is not a system. You need a process and a way to track things to get them off your mind. It can be super simple. So mine was a piece of paper and a pencil, and that was it. I would just add things to that list as they came to mind and then cross them off as I got them done. Just about anything can work as long as you have a way to track it and systematically approach it. Because if you don't have a clear process or system, you're contributing in a way to your mental clutter. For example, if you have multiple places that you're writing stuff down, and then you can't remember where that little piece of paper went, that won't help all that much because it isn't consistent and reliable. But if you only have one little notebook in your pocket or your purse and you always have it with you, that's super reliable as long as you choose to use it. And if you want to get into some kind of technology to help you, think about whether or not you'll be distracted as you use it. For example, if you think, oh, I'll just use a draft email to keep track of everything, which I know I've tried myself before, ask yourself, is that really going to work? I know it didn't work for me because every time I went in there, I would get distracted by my email. So I've tried a number of things over the years. The thing that I'm using right now is an application called Trello. It's a project management app, and you can have different boards in it that have different lists. And then you can put different items or cards onto those lists to keep track of everything. And I find that I can use it without getting distracted, which is the reason that I'm still using it. But I've also used notebooks in the past, and that time before that trip, I actually literally only used one piece of paper. So going back to the whole consistent and reliable thing for a second, when I was in engineering, I did a co-op at Bombardier Aerospace. It was at a facility in Toronto that had a runway and about a dozen hangars where they built planes. And one of the things that they had me do there was document processes. So if you've never seen a process diagram, it's a document that has a bunch of different swim lanes, and each swim lane represents a different person or role or job. And then there are boxes with arrows to depict the sequence of activities that makes the whole process happen. So how the work flows from one step to another. And the different swim lanes then show like who's responsible for what. And my initial reaction to that when someone showed me that was like, why on earth would you do that? It seemed like overkill. Because I was like, doesn't everyone know how things work? Like, don't things just get done? But think about this. Just imagine everyone at that plant. It was thousands of people. I forget how many, but it was like a lot of people. Just imagine everyone starts to decide for themselves how they're going to do things and in what order. It would be pretty chaotic, right? And you would probably have some safety concerns about their products. If you worked there, you would probably be pretty stressed out because you'd never know what to expect. And you would never know if the people who were supposed to feed you with work would actually do it in a way that worked for you and allowed you to meet whatever deadlines you had. So that's why processes are important. They provide structure. They provide a consistent, reliable way for things to get done so that things don't get lost or missed along the way. And when you have a reliable way to get things done, you remove the uncertainty of wondering whether or not you'll remember to come back to it, which is just like another level of weight lifted off of your mind. And processes don't just apply to companies. You can use them too. So the process can be as simple as carrying a notebook or piece of paper like I did and writing things down as they come to you. That'll prevent things from just becoming these loose ends all the time and things that constantly circle on your mind as a result. So if you want more structure for how to manage everything you have to do that's on your mind, I'm going to recommend a book for you. It's called Getting Things Done for Teens by David Allen. So there's a non-teen version that's just called Getting Things Done. And I'm not a teen, but I found the original book to be a little bit too much for me. And the teen version is a bit simpler, which is why it's a good starting point. So as long as you're okay with substituting, the word school for whatever you have going on in your life, it'll be a good place to start. And you can also Google GTD, as in Getting Things Done, to find a lot of blog posts that have been written about it online. So it's more structured than just having like a to-do list where you cross things out as you do them and then write things down as they come up. There's a bit more to it than that, but it's something that you can look at and then consider to see if it would be right for you. So if your to-do list has been on your mind, put some structure in place to help you let it go. There are more episodes to come on clearing mental clutter. If you want to make sure you hear them, subscribe to Pure Light wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, may you be guided by your light.